Welcome, everyone. It's time for Making Sales Social Live, coming to you from the Social Sales Link Virtual Studios, and is brought to you by AskSSL.ai. And if you're joining us live right now, you can see a little QR code in the bottom left corner. You click or take a photo or whatever of that, and that'll take you straight to the page. I'm Bob Woods. Bryn Tillman is off today, and Stan Robinson Jr. is joining us. How you doing, Stan?
Really good, Bob. Good to be here as always.
Are we revved up and ready to go? Because we're going to be talking about a bad thing, but we're going to turn it into a good thing for people here. So a lot of sales and revenue generating professionals are making a lot of mistakes on LinkedIn. Y'all see it, and trust me, Stan and I, we see it all the time too, right, Stan?
Yes, we're on LinkedIn. I won't say all day, every day, but a lot. And and there are things that we see over and over again. And so that's why we're here to talk about them
And
so that
that's
you don't
why
shoot
we're
yourself
here.
in the foot. Yes.
Yeah, that's why we are here. So, here are the eight biggies in terms of mistakes and what we see. Well, some of these we see, and then others are mistakes that you're making that we don't see, but they still are mistakes. But no matter what, we're going to tell you how to avoid them in the first place. So, Stan, why don't you go ahead and take numero uno?
So the first thing that we see a lot of times is people having a LinkedIn profile that is purely self-centered and it looks like the perfect resume. Now, if you are actively job hunting, by all means, that's great. But if you are in sales, you want to make sure that you position yourself as a resource for your audience. We all listen to the same radio station, WIIFM. What's in it for
Love it.
me? And when people visit your profile, the first thing that they want to know is how you can help them. So structure your profile in a way that's what we call customer centric. Talk about them, their pain points, their needs, and then how you can help them address them. Bob, any additional thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, we all three of us, Brent, Stan, and I, we have published a ton of resources on LinkedIn profiles. If you are wondering what one actually looks like, just go to Bryn's, Stan's, or my profiles, and because I think that we've done it the right way, we teach it and we walk the walk and talk the talk. So if you want to get a good idea of what is like. Um, or what a proper one is like specifically for a salesperson, you go ahead and do that. And I'm a little distracted right now, only because now I have the old style OG radio jingle in my head for WIIFM. So, and I
Oh my
can't get it
goodness.
out. I need help here. So so before we do that, Jeff Young says, great point. That's actually two mistakes, and there are many mistakes that people can make in their profiles that are either a resume or sometimes they just come across as way too salesy and they're not a resource. So I mean, you got both right there. So I'm gonna take number two, which is connecting and then immediately pitching someone. What we like to call, and it's accurate, and it's a little naughty too. We call it a pitch slap. Imagine where we got that from. So, but it's really bad though, because if you're in person, chances are you wouldn't pitch immediately to someone else if you're in a one-to-one conversation, if you're in a group conversation. I know some people would. Most people would not do that. They do not do that. Instead, establish a relationship to see, quite frankly, if your product is something that they even truly need. They also don't know you. You haven't built any kind of value with them, any kind of trust with them. Um, my friend Alicia Barr, her entire thing, which is one of the reasons why we get along so well together, is her saying is don't be a d bag. You, I can imagine what you know what that means. I don't want to get us an explicit for this rating for this episode, so I'm not going to say it. But just keep that in mind all the time. Don't pitch slap. Don't be a d bag. What do you do instead? Share content with them. Just Jeff Young. I knew pitch slap would be Jeff Young says, I knew pitch slap would be one of them. And yeah, I mean, just because you see it all the time on LinkedIn, and I mean all the time on LinkedIn. So, instead of connecting and immediately pitching, why not offer them a piece of valuable content or that will provide value to them, something that will actually help. Goes back to my saying, don't don't talk about helping people, just help people. The caveat here though is ask permission to share it before you actually share it, because then it'll seem like spam. Even though you don't mean it as spam, it may come across to them as spam. So ask permission to share it first. If they say okay, share it, and then follow up a couple of days later. Hope you enjoyed the content. And then however you want to phrase it, then offer a call, and not a discovery call, just a call to talk about what they're doing. And very, very, not slowly necessarily, because it's going to be pretty evident if you're a match right away. But and you may not be a match at this particular point in time, but you may be down the line. That's why you build relationships. So don't connect and immediately pitch. Don't pitch slap. Don't be a D bag. Build the relationship.
Yeah.
Number 3, Stan.
So number 3 is connecting and then forgetting, as opposed to connecting and then engaging with your
Mhm.
new connection. And I know it's easy to do because we're all so busy and so forth and so on, and only have a limited time to spend on LinkedIn. But if someone has sent you an invitation to connect, or you've sent them an invitation, particularly in the latter case, if you've invited them to connect, it's a person of interest to you. It's someone that you can offer value to. Now, I do realize, and this relates to what you were talking about earlier, Bob, when we're in sales and we talk about value, we think that our solution, our product or service, offers value to the person.
Yeah.
That's not what we mean by value at this point. We mean content that helps them do their job more effectively, that they would share with, say, a colleague or a peer in the industry. So it may be industry related content, statistics that you've come across, but not your latest product data sheet or promo. Now, when
Yeah.
we talk about connecting and engaging, when someone accepts your invitation, as opposed to a pitch slap, send them a welcome message saying, hey, great to be connected with you. Look forward to continuing our conversation. Something along those lines, because you need to build the relationship, as Bob was talking about. When you first connect, you have not earned the right to get their time and to start to sell them. So when you connect with new people, make sure that you take the time to continue the conversation on LinkedIn. Don't connect with someone and then wake up 3 weeks later and say, "Oh,
Oh,
Bob accepted my invitation, and that was the last message. I never thanked him."
yep.
Bob, any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, no, you did that absolutely with perfection, chef's kiss, as they say. We are going to talk a little bit more about the types of content that you should be sharing a little bit later, but just keep in mind what Stan said, that it's got to be content that is of value, not because you think something is of value. It's got to be of value to them. That helps them with whatever business type of thing that they have that your product may or that your product may solve. But at the same time, it's got to be something that, it's like, oh yeah, I can do that right now. That way you are being of help rather than talking about how you help someone. So yeah, that was absolutely perfect. So the next one kind of goes in line with what Stan was saying, and that's performing whatever you want to say, random acts of social. In other words, you don't have a process for sharing and engaging with other people's content. So sharing your own content and engaging with other people's content. And yes, you should engage with other people's content. And that's important because not only are you helping to promote the other person who you are engaging with, you're also exposed to their networks. So keep that in mind as well. If for no other reason you don't want to engage with someone, just think of it as, oh, people are going to be seeing what I am engaging with.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't even know these people. And also make sure that the share is of value and you're not doing that, great post type of thing because that is just absolutely useless. So, how do you go about this? First of all, block out time in your calendar. Now, what that is going to be entirely dependent on what your current scheduling situation is. I'm really not going to recommend anything because there's so many different situations it's impossible. I do suggest that you block out the time to the point where it's an appointment on your calendar. If you have like a Calendly or that type of thing where people can book appointments with you without you knowing it, that block will prevent anyone from coming in and preemptively scheduling with you. Now, obviously, if you need to move it for a meeting or whatever, move it, don't delete it. That's probably the other big thing, and that's something that I just added like 2 weeks ago to that kind of statement. Move, don't delete that block. So the next thing is to set goals and to not only set goals, but to scale up to them. So if you're going from 0 to 100 and doing anything, you're going to tire yourself out pretty quick. Or in the case of a car, you're going to tire out the car pretty quick too. So, if it's posting one time a week and commenting a couple days a week, you do that for a couple weeks and you go, I could probably double that to posting 2 times a week and commenting 2 times a week. Scale up to what you can do consistently because it's all about consistency. And that's the other big thing. You have to be consistent. And the LinkedIn algorithm likes consistency. So the more consistent you are, the more the LinkedIn algorithm is going to go, hey, this person actually is on. Maybe I should, I being the algorithm, should boost this person's posts a little bit more. So, and then with commenting, you can use LinkedIn searches. We have done plenty of other episodes on this, and there's steps and things like that it's impossible to show. But you can set up searches to search for the people who you want to comment on, and that gets into prospecting by influencer and things like that. If you want, you can search for previous shows that we've done on that, but there is an entire strategy to that. Just commenting in general, though, do it. You will absolutely see benefits from it, Stan.
Yep. Yep. Not anything I can add to that. It's commenting helps everyone.
And of course, posting content as well. And speaking of posting, let's get to number 5.
Yes, number 5 is don't post and ghost. Now, we're not always able to find a rhyme for everything, but this one works. This one definitely works. So what do we mean by don't post and ghost? Well, Bob was just talking about the importance of consistent content. The reason that we're encouraging you to post consistent content is because LinkedIn's algorithms like it. So you're not doing it just to check a box. You're doing it to gain visibility and to position yourself as a resource for your audience. So your goal is to have people comment on your posts. Likes and other reactions are great. Those are fine. And you can see who's liked your content, but you really want people to comment. When they do comment, you want to make sure that you respond.
Hmm.
If nothing else, it's a demonstration of the fact that you respect the fact that they've taken the time to comment on what you've written. And it also helps from the perspective of the algorithms, because now a conversation is going and that is sending signals to LinkedIn's algorithm that your post may be of interest to more people because people are starting to talk about it. So what Bob mentioned about scheduling time in your calendar or some type of tickler, 30 minutes or so after you post, between 30 to 60 minutes, make sure you go back and look and see if anyone is engaging with it so that you can in turn engage with them. Bob, any other
Absolutely.
thoughts on that one? Because that's so important.
That's another pitch perfect one, especially that time frame thing after you post and people are commenting, because LinkedIn's algorithm really picks up on that. And then also the other interesting thing that I've been noticing happening lately is that sometimes a day or two your comments may even pick up a little bit more. So always keep an eye on that as well. Always, you don't have to be checking all the time after like a day or two or whatever. What I do is I have the LinkedIn app on my phone and it notifies me through notifications when I do have someone. I would suggest engaging that. Speaking of Jeff Young's comment, engage, make it so. Uh, Definitely do that um, with your LinkedIn app as well, so that you know when people are coming in. I would still kind of hang out on LinkedIn after that initial 30 minutes to an hour thing, just have it in a separate browser window or or whatever, but in a place where if someone posts, you can see it pop up in your notifications. But that's really important, I think.
Yeah, yeah. And Bob, one key you mentioned is notifications, because you can search notifications and filter by your posts and mentions, which saves you time, makes your
Yeah.
life a little bit easier. S-
Yeah, that's a really good point. That's a really good point. Like that one a lot. So number 6 is, and this gets back to what I mentioned before about content specifically. So sharing or creating content that you care about, which is something that you don't wanna do, and instead, you need to understand what your audience wants to consume, what they need help with, because otherwise they're not gonna care and they're not gonna read. And the perfect example of this, and we've mentioned this a lot of times, but I think it's the best way to show how important this is. Several years ago, we were coaching an investment professional, and they were like, "I don't know what's going on. I'm getting comments, but I don't know what I'm doing wrong." So we went into their comments. The only people who were commenting on this investment professional's content was other investment professionals. So in other words, his competition, which is something that, quite frankly, you don't want. We looked through some of his content and determined that because he was talking about what he wanted to talk about, the only people who were interested were the same people in the business. So we shifted his strategy to talking about what his audience wanted to consume, flip that around. So how do you do that? How do you find out what your audience wants to consume? You ask them.
Yes.
It's that simple. You can do that just either in a post, you can do a poll if you'd like, you
Mhm.
can ask current customers what they would like to see. Heck, even ask prospects, it doesn't really matter. Um, Depending on what type of business you're in, you may want to ask friends. Now if you're like in a heavily engineering type of field, your friends aren't going to know what to ask about. But if it's like investment
Yeah.
professional real estate, everybody's got questions about that type of stuff, so ask them too. Especially networking partners. And networking partners, they can help you, because if they have questions, they're probably getting questions about you from other people, so they'll actually know how to answer already. But you can also use that as what's the phrase I'm looking for? Just ideas for your content that help other people. So again, this gets back
Yeah.
to, well, no, it doesn't get back to just help people. Just help
Yeah.
people. Don't talk about what you want to talk about. Help people. Stan?
Yep, that is good. I'm ready to move on to the next one. because you covered it.
Okay, yeah, and that's cold calling on LinkedIn, and this is before you even get to the pitch slap. Oh my god.
Yes,
And
it's
cold
true.
call and then you pitch slap, I you just don't. Sorry, Stan, but I needed to say that.
Oh boy. Yeah, and in this context, by cold calling, we mean reaching out to people that you have no relationship with, um, and that you haven't done your research on. So, people who've been in sales for a while, when they learn that LinkedIn is the largest professional network in the world and you can filter people by industry and title, many times their mentality is, oh, this is one other way that I can cold call, that I can reach out to people because here is this gold mine of prospects, and I'm going to reach out to them the same way I'm used to reaching out to people from the past. And as Bob was saying, you need to earn the right to get their time, because people are only going to do business with people that they know, like, and trust. And it takes some time to build that trust. So please do not view LinkedIn as yet another channel for you to reach out to people blindly without having done your research on them. The great news about LinkedIn is you can take a quick look at someone's profile, and in 2 or 3 minutes, you can find 2 or 3 things that you can use to build rapport. Let them know that you've done your research by bringing those types of things up in conversation. And again, it positions you as someone who is trying to bring value to them rather than simply prospecting them and seeing if they're a qualified prospect for your particular product.
That one's so simple, yet so important. I think we're just gonna leave it there, but it's very important. Now, if well, I'm gonna say one thing. If because I can't help myself.
Right.
So, if you cold call and you're successful with it, keep doing it. I mean, that's fine. We don't ever discourage cold calling. It's just on LinkedIn, you're expected almost to really develop more of a relationship because it is a business networking platform. So really, if you're doing cold calling on the phone and it's working for you, that's great. Just realize that it's probably not going to work on LinkedIn.
Yeah. And one reason that what we've been talking about here all ties together. We started with building a profile that positions you as a resource. Realize that whenever you reach out to someone on LinkedIn, they can see who has looked at their profile. Even if you just
Yep.
look at their profile, they will come back and look at your profile. And if your profile is talking about how you're a quota killer and a master negotiator, um, that is not what they're looking for in terms of value from you.
Right. They wanna know what you can bring them. They don't wanna see or I don't know if they wanna see bragging or whatever, but bragging doesn't do you any good in their eyes because it doesn't tell you how you can help them. That
Yeah.
sounds good. I think it's the first time I've ever put it like that. Yeah, that sounds good. I like that. So the final one that we're gonna get to is not leveraging bleh, take 2. Not leveraging your connections to get referrals or asking permission to mention their names to prospect. So this is all about leveraging what we call your warm network. The easiest way to do this is to take inventory or CPR your current first degree connections. And you can do that by downloading those from LinkedIn. The process has changed a little bit. You get a heck of a lot more information than you used to, but one of the things that does come down is your current first degree network. So you look through those names, and then depending on your relationship with them, you can then go into LinkedIn and you search to find out uh, who they know that you want to know specifically, and then you could, if you have good enough relationship with them, ask on a call or a meeting if you could if there are people that you want to meet with them, and then also reciprocate and ask them
Mm.
before the meeting to go through your network and your second degree connection, or your first degree connections who are second degree connections to them, um, what the people that they might want to know as well. Definitely reciprocate. And then you can either have them set something up for you or simply ask permission to mention their name in any type of reach out type of activity that they're doing. That one's really simple. This one gets overlooked a lot. This one gets overlooked a lot. This is something that more people should be doing because warm network is much more effective than just going out cold. And I'm not talking about cold calling, just going out cold with people. Stan?
Yep, so true. And what you said about it being underutilized and by all of us, myself included,
Oh
is
yeah,
that
same here.
yep, the best way to start a relationship with someone is to be referred or introduced by someone that they know, because the referrer's credibility transfers to you and it helps accelerate the process of building trust.
Could not agree more. So today's summary of the episode is simple. You know what the common mistakes are now? So stop doing them. We've also given you some actions to take instead of doing that dreaded 8, and I just realized that that rhymed as well. We're doing pretty good with the, with the rhymes today, Stan. I'm, just it's
Yeah.
just kinda working out that way.
Yep.
So with that, thank you for joining us for this episode of Making Sales Social Live, sponsored by AskSSL.ai. If you're with us live on LinkedIn or YouTube right now, we do this every week. Trust me, every week. Well, practically every week. We do take holidays off. So keep an eye out for our live sessions. If you're listening to us on our podcast, which means we're recorded, and you haven't subscribed already, subscribe, follow, like, comment, all of the other things that all the other people out there want you to do with their content. We'd appreciate that as well. Thanks very much. We do 2 shows weekly, this one and our Making Sales Social interview series, where we talk with leaders and experts in sales, marketing, business, many more areas. If you'd like more info on our podcast, socialsaleslink.com/podcast. It's easy to remember, easy to type. And so with that, when you're out and about, be sure that you are making your sales.
Social.
Yes. Oh, with authority too. I like that. Very good. Thanks, Stan. Thank you, everybody.